Let's get started with our first news. Belal Muhammad believes Khamzat will defeat Du Plessis at UFC 319 and become the new UFC middleweight champion. Now the big question is, who do I got in this matchup? DDP or Chimaev? Honestly, I believe too many people are seriously counting out Chimaev's cardio and overall fight IQ. There's this narrative that Chimaev burns out early or that he's only dominant in the first round. But if you actually study his past fights, he's shown that he can keep a solid pace when he needs to. And as Khabib said it best, if Chimaev chooses to stand and strike with Du Plessis, he'll do really well. DDP has an unorthodox, awkward style, no doubt about that. He switches stances, throws looping shots, and brings an unpredictable rhythm. But that awkwardness also leaves him exposed. He gets hit a lot. And more importantly, DDP tends to break opponents not just with power, but with relentless pressure and fatigue. Now, here's the real key. Chimaev needs to avoid coming out like a madman in round 1. If he shoots for takedowns and lets it all out in the first few minutes, trying to get an early finish, that strategy could completely backfire. We've seen it before, a fast start followed by an energy crash. That's not the way to beat someone like Du Plessis, who is physically strong and surprisingly durable. Instead, Chimaev has to be strategic. He needs to manage his gas tank, keep it standing early, measure the distance, touch him with jabs, feel him out, let DDP throw some wild shots, and maybe even gas himself out a bit. Then when the time is right, maybe in round 3 or 4, turn it up, mix in the wrestling, make him uncomfortable, and start breaking him down piece by piece. That's how you beat someone who thrives in chaos. Let's also not forget this is a 5-round fight. Championship stakes. That changes everything. You can't just rely on adrenaline and instincts. You've got to come in with a game plan. You've got to be smart, calculated, and able to adapt. And that's where I think Chimaev has evolved. He's not just a wild brawler anymore. He's shown improvements on the feet. He's striking more efficiently, using angles, setting up traps, and picking his shots. He's becoming a complete fighter, someone who can wrestle, strike, and think his way through a tough matchup. So yes, I'm picking Chimaev. I think he's crisper on the feet, sharper on the ground, and much more dangerous when he's fighting smart. If he doesn't let his emotions get the better of him early and sticks to a disciplined game plan, he can take over this fight and walk away with UFC gold. Now moving on to our second news, Reinier de Ridder opened up about his gritty and hard-fought performance against Robert Whittaker at UFC Abu Dhabi. It wasn't an easy win by any means. In fact, RDR admitted that he doesn't remember much of the 3rd round after getting dropped by Whittaker. That moment? A complete blur. But what stood out wasn't just his honesty, it was how he took time to reflect on the journey that led him here. Back in November 2024, Reinier made his UFC debut by submitting Gerald Meerschaert in impressive fashion. That was less than a year ago. And now, fast forward to the present day, he's ranked in the top 5 of the middleweight division. That's not just fast progress, that's remarkable. In a promotion as competitive as the UFC, climbing that fast is no small feat. It speaks volumes about his work ethic, skill set, and mindset. During the post-fight press conference, when asked whether he knew he was in trouble at any point, especially during that shaky 3rd round, RDR didn't sugarcoat it. He admitted, "I don't remember too much of that moment, but yeah, I think I was in a bit of trouble." That kind of transparency is rare in this sport and shows his maturity as a fighter. When asked which rounds he felt he won, RDR was reflective. He said he'd need to rewatch the fight, but he was confident that he took at least the last 2 rounds. Maybe the 2nd round too. He pointed out how he got on top multiple times, controlled some key grappling exchanges, and even landed clean, effective knees that left a mark. While the fight was close, there's no doubt that Reinier did damage. And despite being the one to walk away with the win, RDR didn't hesitate to give credit where credit was due. He called Whittaker one of the best versions of himself that he's seen in years, calm, collected, and explosive. That says a lot, especially coming from a fighter who had just gone to war with him for 3 full rounds. "It was hard work this time," RDR said. "That's how you know it wasn't a walk in the park." Looking ahead, RDR is fully aware that the middleweight division is stacked right now. There are some huge fights on the horizon and any one of them could shift the landscape. But RDR isn't worried. In his own words, "I'm a top 5 fighter in the world, man." That's crazy, huh? And it is, considering it all happened within a single year. He's confident that a title shot is within reach. And let's be honest, after going toe-to-toe with a former champ like Whitaker and surviving some dangerous moments, RDR made a real statement. If he continues to evolve and rack up wins like this, there's no reason to doubt that he'll be fighting for UFC gold sooner rather than later. Let's move on to another story. The MMA community reacts to Khabib's advice. You might remember when Khabib Nurmagomedov made headlines by suggesting that Chimaev should stand and strike with Dricus du Plessis rather than immediately relying on his world-class wrestling. At the time, a lot of fans and analysts were skeptical. It was unexpected coming from someone like Khabib, who built his entire legacy on grappling dominance. But now, it turns out many fighters and analysts are starting to agree with that take. One of the most notable names backing this approach is Belal Muhammad. He recently gave his official prediction for the fight, and he's not just siding with Chimaev, he's putting real confidence behind it. Belal pointed out something crucial. People continue to underestimate Khamzat's cardio. There's a lingering perception that he fades after one hard round, but Belal thinks that's a major oversight. Belal also acknowledged that DDP Dricus du Plessis brings a very Adabo-gored and tricky fighting style. He's unpredictable, he throws odd combinations, and he's incredibly durable. But Belal didn't shy away from pointing out DDP's flaws either. He reminded everyone that du Plessis gets AET a lot, and he tends to break his opponents with pressure and fatigue. If Khamzat can withstand that early chaos and not blow his gas tank in the first round, Belal believes he'll take over the fight. According to Belal, the key to victory is simple. Khamzat needs to keep things standing early, conserve his energy, and avoid wasting everything on failed takedown attempts. And when the time's right, he can start mixing it up, but he can't come out with a reckless kill or be killed mindset right away. This marks a really interesting shift in narrative for Khamzat Chimaev. For the longest time, the talk surrounding him has been all about his ferocious grappling pressure. People saw him as the guy who mauls you into the canvas and smothers you until you quit. But now, even some of the sport's elite are suggesting that striking and managing his cardio might be the smartest path to victory. Especially against a fighter like du Plessis, a guy who thrives in chaos, in scrambles, and in brawls, but who also leaves big openings when he's standing and trading. This isn't just going to be a test of raw skills, it's going to be a test of who brings the better game plan. So once again, who do I got, DDP or Chimaev? I've said it before and I'll say it again, too many people are counting out Khamzat's cardio. Khabib was right, if he keeps it standing and strikes with him, Chimaev can absolutely do well. DDP is tough, sure, he's AW and he's strong, but he gets hit, and if Khamzat doesn't come out throwing the kitchen sink in round 1, he can control the fight. You don't want to go for the finish early, gas out, and get picked apart for 4 more rounds. This is a 5-round main event. You've got to fight smart, and that's why I'm picking Chimaev. He's crisper on the feet, sharper on the ground, and more importantly, I believe this is his moment. Moving on to Bryce Mitchell. The featherweight standout had something interesting to say after his unanimous decision victory over Cedric Dumas. Right after the win, he took to Instagram with a short but bold video saying, "Send him to Arkansas 2 or 3 years and forget about it." A comment like that, especially coming from Bryce, reflects his signature mix of pride, humor, and confidence in his roots. But the real conversation came during the post-fight press conference. That's where Bryce was asked about something that's been circulating online for quite a while, comparisons between him and Sean Strickland. According to fans and media, both fighters have a raw, unfiltered style during interviews. They're outspoken, opinionated, and completely unapologetic. But when asked if he saw the similarities himself, Bryce had a very thoughtful response. He acknowledged that, yeah, he sees why people make that comparison. Both he and Sean are American fighters, both speak their minds, and both carry that gritty blue-collar energy into everything they do, from interviews to octagon appearances. But Bryce says there's a big difference, and to him, it matters. In his words, "I try to be overwhelmingly nice. If you can't tell how much I love you, bro, you ain't paying attention." That line hit hard, because it wasn't just about optics or public image. Bryce says he genuinely goes out of his way to let people know how much he cares. Whether it's fans, fellow fighters, media, or opponents, he wants people to feel respected. He added, "I don't try to disrespect anybody, and if I do, I really ain't trying to, bro." That kind of humility is rare, especially in a sport where trash talk often takes center stage. Bryce makes it clear he's not interested in playing a heel character or stirring up drama just for attention. What he values most is staying true to who he is, a fighter who leads with his heart. He went on to explain that what separates him from Sean Strickland isn't skill or toughness, but compassion. Bryce says he genuinely cares about people and not just in a performative way. He prays for people, even those he doesn't know personally. He says, "I love all you guys. I pray for all you guys, and you mean a lot to me." That level of sincerity is rare, and whether you're a fan of his fighting style or not, it's hard not to respect someone who tries to bring that kind of energy into such a brutal sport. Bryce Mitchell may be wild on the mic and unpredictable in the cage, but at the core, he's someone who wants to lift people up, not tear them down. That's the kind of fighter the sport can always use more of. Let's head to the next headline. Michael Chandler absolutely rips Arman Tsarukyan, and he did not hold back. Chandler has become the latest in a growing list of lightweights to publicly express zero interest in fighting Tsarukyan, and honestly, he's not alone. Over the past week, more and more fighters have distanced themselves from the idea of stepping into the cage with Arman. It started with Paddy Pimblett, who made it clear he'd rather face Justin Gaethje. Then Gaethje chimed in and said he only wants a title shot. He has no interest in facing someone who isn't gonna help him climb further. And if that wasn't enough, even the current champ Ilia Topuria said he'd rather vacate the title than defend it against Tsarukyan. That's three notable names, all of them opting out of a potential clash with Arman. And then comes Michael Chandler, who went even further with his comments. On Instagram, Chandler didn't just decline the fight, he tore into it. "Definitely not scared," he wrote. "Nobody wants that nothing burger of a fight, especially not the champ. Ilia realizes we're in the attention business. Nobody pays attention to that other guy." That statement set the internet ablaze. Fans and media personalities immediately started debating whether Chandler was ducking or just being honest about the fight game. In Chandler's view, it's not just about skill, it's about marketability. He knows that in today's UFC, getting the big fights, the title shots, and the main events isn't just about your win-loss record. It's about drawing eyeballs, selling pay-per-views, and generating buzz. To him, a fight with Tsarukyan, while undeniably tough, doesn't do that. It's what he called a nothing burger, a high-risk, low-reward scenario. Beat Tsarukyan and you don't gain much. Lose to him, and you're giving momentum to a guy who isn't yet a proven draw. From a business perspective, Chandler thinks it's a losing proposition. But while Chandler's remarks may seem disrespectful, they reflect a harsh reality in the sport. Arman is one of the most dangerous contenders in the division, no doubt. He's fast, technical, well-rounded, and absolutely relentless. But despite his skill set, he doesn't yet have the name recognition or fan base to force top fighters to take the risk. It's a tough position for Tsarukyan. He's clearly earned his place in the top 10, maybe even top 5, but getting big-name opponents to step up has proven to be a massive challenge. He's in what some call the danger zone, too skilled for his own good, but not yet a big enough star to be unavoidable. Whether that changes in the near future depends on what Tsarukyan does next. One thing's for sure, he's going to need a statement win or a breakout moment if he wants to force these guys to stop ducking him and start stepping up. Finally, we wrap it up with a massive potential matchup. Islam Makhachev versus Jack Della Maddalena, possibly going down this November? This would be a huge development in both fighters' careers. Islam Makhachev, the reigning UFC lightweight champion, has been dominating the 155-pound division with his wrestling-heavy, suffocating style. And now, he's looking to move up to welterweight in search of even greater glory and another belt. That's not just a bold move, it's a statement. Recently, Islam addressed something that had fans buzzing, Ilia frogging him to take the #1 spot on the UFC's pound-for-pound rankings. According to Islam, the move was all about promotion. He believes the UFC made that switch deliberately to create more hype around a future super fight between him and Topuria. In his words, it's marketing. They're doing it to build the fight. People are already interested, so they're doing everything right. That comment shows that Islam isn't taking it personally. He knows how the game works. He understands that rankings, while important, are sometimes adjusted to create bigger headlines and drive attention. But what's clear is that he still wants to be recognized as the best, not just in one division but across the board. And that brings us to the next big reveal. Islam confirmed that negotiations are nearly complete for him to fight Jack Della Maddalena for the UFC welterweight title. He didn't hold anything back. He said there's a 90% chance the fight happens this coming November. Let that sink in for a moment. Islam Makhachev, the king of the 55-pound division, is about to go up in weight to face one of the most dangerous rising stars in the sport. Jack Della Maddalena isn't just any welterweight. He's known for his crisp boxing, relentless pace, and granite chin. He's racked up an impressive win streak and proven he belongs among the elite at 170 pounds. Stylistically, this could be an absolute banger. You've got Makhachev's grappling and control against Jack's technical striking and pressure. It's one of those classic matchups that has the potential to become an instant classic, and the implications are huge. If Islam wins, he joins a very short list of fighters to hold titles in 2 different weight classes. It cements his legacy. It puts him right up there with the all-time greats. And for Jack, this is the opportunity of a lifetime. Beating someone like Makhachev would skyrocket him into superstardom. It would instantly validate his run and prove that he's not just a contender, he's championship material. This potential showdown in November has all the ingredients of a Fight of the Year candidate. Legacy, belts, high stakes, and 2 fighters in their prime. If everything goes according to plan, Islam Makhachev versus Jack Della Maddalena could be one of the most talked about moments in MMA history. In this video, we made almost no pronunciation mistakes. We're working hard to improve every day. We are continuously refining our content because of your love, loyalty, and support. That's why we kindly ask you to support us by liking this video, commenting support in the comment section, subscribing to our channel, and pressing the bell icon. It only takes 1 minute, and it means the world to us. Thank you for being with us on this journey.